Good morning, folks. We're going live to Frankfort right now, where a group called Protect Our Schools Kentucky, they're going to be making a public statement on the future of advocacy efforts. They're going to be talking with stakeholders and allied organizations representing Protect Our Schools Kentucky, the group that successfully defeated Amendment 2 in 2024. So they're going to be making some remarks about their future, and they're gathered in Frankfort.
All right. Good morning. I will try to use my teacher voice so everybody in the back can hear me. Thank you for being here today. My name is Jessica Heiler, and I have served as a teacher in Fayette County since 1999, and I proudly serve as the Fayette County Education Association president, representing many of our educators in Lexington. I am honored to stand here today with Protect Our Schools Kentucky. Last November, the Protect Our Schools Kentucky Coalition, made up of teachers, parents, students, administrators, community leaders, and more, worked together to achieve a resounding victory for public education and all of Kentucky's kids by defeating Amendment 2, the Voucher Amendment. The victory sent a clear message. Kentuckians in all 120 counties stand united in our commitment to public education. Kentuckians from Paducah to Pikeville, Somerset to Southgate, and we don't need to undermine our schools by diverting money from our public schools. Instead, we should be investing in better ideas that work to improve student learning. We know we can do better for all of our kids, and we're committed to making good on that commitment. And that is why I'm standing here today. Today, I am proud to announce that Protect Our Schools Kentucky Coalition is relaunching with a new, renewed mission. Protect Our Schools Kentucky unites public education advocates and allied organizations, building on the momentum of success of the Amendment 2 campaign. Together, we are dedicated to advancing a bold vision that champions support, respect, and meaningful reinvestment in Kentucky's public schools. We are in a unique position right now to chart a course for our kids' future. Our students deserve the strongest education possible to help us set them up for a lifetime of success, and we're ready to organize for it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Autumn Nagel. I'm the president-elect for Kentucky PTA. That's a Kentucky Parent-Teacher Association. I stand here today excited to kick off the renewed effort of Protect Our Schools. Like Jessica said, over the next year, our coalition is focused on advancing a bold vision that champions support, respect, and meaningful reinvestment in our Kentucky's public schools. The Kentucky PTA's mission is really simple. It's to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families to advocate for all children. There is no other fight that we can do this in than this. We are in a unique position to chart a path for our future, a future that promises why do I always have a hard time with that word? Equitable, quality education for every child in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Protect Our Schools Kentucky has a strong representative stakeholder group, along with many others that are committed to champion this bold agenda. We have an expansive list of supporters from across the Commonwealth who have reaffirmed the commitment to public schools. And we have the support by way of this past year to build an even more connected, meaningful coalition and further the infrastructure meant to support a campaign and our future public education ahead of the 2026 budget session. This year, you can expect to see Protect Our Schools Kentucky travel across the state to put a series of public engagement campaigns with local stakeholders. We will be envisioning what public education can look like alongside with other Kentuckians, and we will take a look at the local impact a number of our reinvestments could make in each of our 120 counties. By the end of the year, not only will we have co-created a bold vision with education stakeholders and concerned citizens from across Kentucky, we will have built a more localized, robust coalition that has ever been ready to engage in our future of our kids' education that they deserve. We'll bring forward a bold vision that will make this case and challenge the legislators to make this a moment of change. Our coalition is nonpartisan, and we invite parents, teachers, students, community members, and concerned citizens to join us. If you want to organize with us further, our commitment to our students, public schools, and communities, we want you. Our schools are the heartbreak. It's a heartbeat of our communities. We don't want a heartbreak. We want a heartbeat that's strong, and we can do better for them. I, along with Kentucky PTA, look forward to doing everything we can over the course of the year to advocate for the future of all of our kids and what they deserve. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Sherry Satterley, and I am the very proud superintendent of the Frankfort Independent Schools, located just a block away in the capital city of our Commonwealth. I have spent my entire career dedicated to Kentucky students, first in Danville and now here in Frankfort. At Frankfort Independent, kids are more than just a number. Our schools are more than just buildings. They are the center of our community, literally. Across Kentucky, our schools touch every corner of every community, and they repeatedly stand in the gap to meet the needs of our families. With every decision I make, I ask myself, is this what's best for all kids? I believe that supporting Protect Our Schools KY and their renewed mission around championing a bold vision that respects, supports, and calls for meaningful reinvestment in Kentucky's public schools absolutely is what is best for all of Kentucky's kids. We are at a critical juncture now regarding public education in our state. According to the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy, state core funding for public schools, known as SEEK, has declined an inflation-adjusted 26% since 2008. Our schools have been asked to do more with less buying power year after year. In the Frankfort Independent District, in particular, this is an extreme hardship because 73% of the local property in our district is tax exempt, with no current ways to be made whole from that funding gap. Of the more than $11 million of property tax revenue in my district, we see less than $3 million of those dollars if everyone pays their taxes. The remaining $8 million is tax exempt and based on extremely archaic property value assessments. The funding gap between wealthy and poorer school districts has grown to levels declared unconstitutional in the 1980s. The state has not fully funded school transportation, despite a law requiring them to do so since 2004, over 20 years ago. And on average, inflation-adjusted teacher salaries across school districts in Kentucky are 20% less than they were in 2008. Every single one of those items directly affects all kids. While I am very grateful for the funding that the legislature does provide, I know that we as a state can and should do better for our students and families. I look forward to taking part in all of the organizing and advocacy efforts that Protect Our Schools KY spearheads throughout the year across the state as we work to put together an agenda and make the case to our legislators about why that agenda is important. And I invite you all to join us in that effort. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Reed. I'm a high school English teacher in Boone County. I, like others, am proud to stand here today and help relaunch Protect Our Schools KY. While Dr. Satterley began speaking about what this specific moment is important from a state funding perspective, I want to touch on another angle that explains why we must stand together now in this moment to organize for the future that we want. As has been widely reported, there's been a lot of discussion about education and potential changes at the federal level. Our state depends on federal funding for a host of critical services, and abolishing the Department of Education or reducing education funding in the federal budget could cause sweeping harm to Kentucky's kids. Federal funding is a substantial part of public school budgets, and is particularly important in rural districts and to the kids with the greatest needs. According to the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy, in Kentucky, federal grants exceed $1 billion annually and include funding for school meals, low-income students, children with disabilities, educator training, and other essential services. Cutting these funds could mean the loss of teachers, the end of vital supports for our most vulnerable students, and new school lunch fees for parents, and reduced student success and well-being. To put it plainly, these cuts would undermine our communities and our students. Federal funding fills gaps for critical needs. While federal fund grants currently make up $1 in $5 in Kentucky school district budget, federal funds currently make up $1 in $5 in Kentucky school district budgets. While Kentucky schools are funded through a combination of local property taxes, state and federal funding, if federal funding is reduced or removed altogether, school districts would be more reliant on state and local local tax dollars to provide these services. This would further strain our budgets and require some really hard decisions at the local level that will affect everyone in our communities. Almost every district, in almost every district, a loss in federal funds would be absolutely disastrous. In 2023, federal funding made up 20% of all districts' budgets, but 52% of the budget in Fulton Independent, 45 in Middlesboro Independent, and 44 in Owsley County, for example. These aren't just numbers. They represent critical supports for our students. If we're serious about providing the type of public education our students deserve, we cannot allow anything to happen that can weaken Kentucky's public schools or threaten critical funding. We can't stay true to our mission of advancing an agenda that champions reinvestment in public schools if at the same time federal funding is reduced or taken away altogether. So while I want to invite each of you to visit our website at protectourschoolsky.com or connect with us on Facebook to learn how to get involved, I want to go further and invite you to take action with us now. In this urgent moment, we are not powerless. Along with executing a public engagement campaign throughout the year, we are now calling on federal delegations to publicly oppose any action that could weaken public schools or cut or threaten critical funding. To Congressman Massey, the congressman that represents the school district that I work in, we ask you to explain how your one-sentence bill will protect the funding for Kentucky's most vulnerable students. To Representative Comer, Representative Guthrie, Representative McGarvey, Representative Roger, and Representative Barr, we ask you to stand with public education and make it clear that you will oppose any attempt to defund our schools. Kentucky's kids deserve leaders who will fight for their future, not abandon them to budget cuts or political games. And I want to repeat that. Kentucky's kids deserve leaders who will fight for them, fight for their future, and not abandon them for political games or budget cuts. In the coming days, we're going to continue activating our supporters to raise their voices louder than ever, to show that Kentuckians stand united in defending public education. If you are a supporter, sign up to volunteer with us. Spread the word, and most importantly, contact your federal representatives and tell them that cutting federal education funding is unacceptable. Our kids, our communities, and our future depend on it. Thank you.
If you all would like to get interviews, we're going to move and do some of those in the hallway because we're getting this one since we got in here late. For those of you, there's a couple of you, I do not recognize your faces. Maybe we haven't met yet. So if I do not have your direct contact information, if you'll come see me, because I'm going to email you all the press release, the remarks, and the accompanying talking points, just so you have everything you need. But speakers, if you don't mind, let's go out that door because there's some folks coming in here next.